Welcome to the Gridiron Round-Up with your host, Randy Silver. We're back. Let's go. After week hiatus where I was moving, new spot, same great content for you. Today we have college football week 6 preview. News, storylines, rankings, matchups, and analysis. So much for you. What we're going to start with first is the college football AP top 25 rankings for week 6. Let's dive into it. Georgia, Michigan, Texas, Ohio State, and Florida State are your top 5 teams in the AP top 25. In the coaches poll, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Florida State. So who's flipped there? You can see that nobody. It's just the same top 5 teams. Texas is 3 in the AP poll. Texas is 4 in the coaches poll, but the same top 5 teams. Penn State, Washington, Oregon, USC, Notre Dame round out your top 10 for AP top 25 for the coaches poll. Penn State, USC, Washington, Oregon, and Alabama. Alabama is 11th in the AP. So the top are pretty close. Obviously, as they play each other, this will change. Who dropped out from last week? Last week, Florida lost. Kansas lost. They're out. And then Kansas State also dropped out of the coaches poll. They were not in that top 25 before for the AP poll. You can see other teams receiving votes here. We got some tasty matchups this week. When we do our review, we'll go over the new AP poll, but want to make sure you just saw this, where the teams stand, your favorite teams in your conferences are at currently. Here are the predictor for who will make the BCS Bowl. Ohio State, Oklahoma have the biggest odds at 54%, 53%. Texas is third with 50%. Then comes Pac-12 with Oregon at 40%. Penn State, Georgia, Florida State, Alabama, Washington, Michigan, USC, Miami is 4-0, Notre Dame, and Ole Miss. Those are the teams that have the highest percentage chance to make the CFP so far. College football stat leaders. So let's take a quick look here. Offensive leaders is Washington QB Michael Penix Jr. with 1 yard short of 2,000. So close, but yet so far. Sanders, even after the game against Oregon, had a nice bounce back against USC. Played really well in that second half, even though they lost. 1,700 yards. You can see here that the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, is not here. He's really not had to do a lot. Running game has been playing really well for USC, so he's dropped down the offensive lead in terms of passing yards, but he's still making a bunch of plays, getting a bunch of touchdowns. When we look at rushing yards, Estin from Notre Dame, 672 is leading the pack. When we look at receiving yards, Luther Burden from Missouri is at 644. Then you can see the defensive side, a couple of people with 4 interceptions. Sacks, Jonah Ellis with Utah, 7.5. Defensive leader, Tyrus Knight with 76 total titles, tied with Jason Henderson with total tackles. If we want to look overall at team statistics, let's look at the offensive total yards. What offenses are being the best in the nation? Washington Huskies, Oregon, USC. 3 Pac-12 teams leading from the front in total yards and yards per game, which is extremely impressive. We look at defense. What defense is giving up the least yards per game? Penn State and Nittany Lions. Air Force is right there. You see Michigan, Ohio State. These teams have played a little bit of easier schedule. Penn State harder than Michigan, Ohio State. So as this goes in the second part of the season, this will probably change a bit. Here are some news for you. Tez Walker, UNC wide receiver, is allowed to play after NCAA reverses decision on wide receiver. We broke this story. We talked about the story earlier in a couple of previews. He was not allowed to play due to transfer portal issues. They have now allowed him to play. He was at Kent State, and then he was ruled ineligible because he transferred twice. A lot of this dealt with COVID issues transferring. However, Thursday's announcement did not specify what new information prompted NCAA to reverse the decision. Walker's missed the first 4 games for UNC, and now he's able to play. This is a big boost for UNC, who's 14th in the nation. He's a tall, lengthy, fast wide receiver. He will come in and be successful for them. We'll see what he does without having any game time, how he'll get into the games. But this is big for UNC. Big Ten reveals new football schedules for 24 through 28. They're adding Washington, USC, Oregon, and UCLA. So how's that going to be reworking? 12 guaranteed matchups are included in the schedules. They want to make sure they're keeping those rivalries in. Illinois, Northwestern, Illinois, Purdue, Indiana, Purdue, Iowa, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin, Maryland, Rutgers, Michigan, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio. Of course, you got to have that. Michigan, Ohio State, excuse me, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oregon, Washington, and UCLA, USC, the Battle of LA. They have to deal with travel and distance. So here is the football schedule. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit for you. Your 2024 conference opponents, you can take a look. Who would somebody like Ohio State have? Ohio State has Michigan State, Northwestern, Oregon, Penn State, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, Nebraska, Purdue. No USC. Who does USC have coming in? Maryland across the country, Michigan, Minnesota, UCLA, Washington, Nebraska, Penn State, Rutgers, Wisconsin. It's going to be ton. It's going to be fun. It's going to be tough. Here's a 2025 schedule. Give you a chance to take a look. So USC still does not play Ohio State. You got 2026 schedule. And then 2027 schedule. There's Ohio State. The Ohio State for USC. So you can see who your favorite Big Ten team will be playing. And then last one. Go ahead, book your flights, plan your trips early so you know where you're going to be and who will be away and home. Pat Fitzgerald, the former coach at Northwestern, is suing Northwestern for $130 million for a wrongful termination. This is stemming from hazing his team was doing. He said he had no knowledge of it, and he was fired unlawfully. He was not supposed to be fired because of it. Wrongful termination. He says he has evidence that he should earn this $130 million because of it. He won't get $130 million. If they settle out of court, think of it half, maybe quarter. But a lot of potential loss of earnings. His reputation is ruined. Punitive damages. Also got to pay lawyer fees, which are probably astronomical for this. This will continue on. We'll keep you updated on this moving forward. Another coach who is dealing with issues. Mel Tucker, Michigan State, sent a letter to them alleging new evidence in his firing that was wrongful termination firing by him. He got fired after sexual harassment issues were brought to the school by a sexual harassment advocacy woman. He's now saying that she manipulates people and has made a career of misleading, and he has evidence about this, meaning that he was fired wrongfully. So this will be continuing to go on. We'll keep you updated here, and we've had better previews and updates on this throughout. UCF, University of Central Florida, Gus Malzahn, former coach at Auburn, gets a new deal through 27. He gets a raise. With the Big 12 expanding, he has that SEC pedigree, and he's at UCF playing pretty well. This will help with recruiting. He'll get $5.5 annually in 26 and 27. Ole Miss, so instead of giving money, is taking money away. Ole Miss is fined $75,000 for fans throwing debris on the field. This is during the game when they played LSU when they won that very exciting game. Fans were throwing stuff later in the fourth quarter. They also got a $100,000 fan fine against Ole Miss by the conference for fans storming the field after the upset victory. So very costly win. I think Ole Miss will be okay with that. Your college football top 25 scoreboard. Who's playing who in the big games? We have Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River rivalry. 12 p.m. Eastern start. Get your popcorn early. Wake up early. Don't go to bed late Friday night. It's going to be fun. 12 Oklahoma 5-0 versus 3 Texas 5-0. Both in the Big 12, 2-0 in conference. Maryland, Ohio State, LSU, Missouri, a massive SEC game, 12 o'clock as well. For the SEC South, this will be a massive, massive game. You have Pac-12, Washington State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Florida State, Alabama, Texas A&M, Syracuse, North Carolina, Kentucky, Georgia, massive SEC game as well, in their respective conference. We will see who comes out of this. It will be rough game. Kentucky 5-0, Georgia 5-0. Expect it to be physical, fast in Athens. It's going to be loud. That's 7 p.m. That's late night, 4 p.m. Pacific. Michigan, Minnesota, Notre Dame, Louisville. Big ACCS type of game, 7:30 p.m. prime time Eastern. Arkansas, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Miami, Fresno State, Wyoming, Oregon State, California, and Arizona versus USC. Just to key on some games for you. Here are the rest of the games overall. So we'll scroll through. So it's going to show you all games who aren't just in the top 25, so you can see all the different conference matchups as well and where they may be. We'll let this scroll. Okay, so you got that right there. So the big game of the week is Oklahoma versus Texas in the Red River rivalry. Oklahoma's predicted to win 54% to 45%. It's literally a toss-up. It could go either way. You can see the stats here for their players. When we look at total yards, Oklahoma is getting 510 yards of offense a game. Texas at 478. Yards allowed, basically 300 for both teams. So what's going to give? Is it going to be defense winning or offense winning? Stats would say it's going to be a high-scoring affair. This game tends to sometimes become a shootout, which makes it really exciting. Both teams are coming into the game undefeated, which makes it that much better. Especially Oklahoma had a down season last season. Texas, number 3 in the nation. Oklahoma, 12 in the nation. This should be fun. SEC, we talked about. You have LSU versus Missouri. LSU is projected to win 70% to 30%. We look at the standings. LSU's in third place, while Missouri's in third place in their respective conferences. LSU's 2-1 in the conference, while Missouri's 1-0. So in their respective regions, they need to be able to bump up. When we look at total yards, LSU is averaging a whopping 551 total offense on the season. 100 more yards than Missouri at 453. Yards allowed 429 to 317. So the question is Missouri's offense going to run rampant, or is Missouri's defense going to be able to hold LSU down? Game will be in Missouri, a breezy 53 degrees. And your other SEC game that's noteworthy, Kentucky versus Georgia. Could be a basketball matchup, but no, we got this in football. Kentucky has a 13% chance to win. Could be a massive upset if Georgia pulls this through with 86%. In the SEC, Georgia's 2-0, so it's Kentucky 2-0 right here. This is going to be a massive matchup. Whoever wins this may come out of the SEC, go to the SEC championship game. Here you can see the stats. When we look at the stats, 480 yards of offense for Georgia, that's 400 for Kentucky. Kentucky's defense is averaging 300 yards a game to Georgia's 300 yards, so could become a low-scoring affair if you're better, over under 47.5. Will not be surprised if this game goes under. That's your college football Week 6 preview. News, storylines, rankings, matchups, and analysis. We got some big games this week, headlined by the Red River rivalry, Oklahoma, Texas. We have other SEC matchups that are ranked. We got Pac-12 matchups with ranked teams going after it. So it's going to be a fun matchup. And you're going to want to come back here Sunday, and we'll do a full recap. We'll go over the new polls, recap the scorelines. We'll recap the storylines, the games, the scores, anything that breaks over the weekend, and much more news. Keep you updated. Enjoy the week. Comment your thoughts. And of course, subscribe here to Randy Silver TV, where we produce Gridiron Round-Up, Hoops Round-Up, MMA Round-Up, and European Football Round-Up. So much for you. Enjoy, y'all.